Welcome back, everyone. It's the Bourbon Judge. So today we actually have a very interesting topic for the channel. Yes, a very interesting topic. And I'm going to go ahead and pour some whiskey while we talk. So the story behind this. So I was recently in a liquor store talking to the manager and the owner. And the manager and owner both kind of said at the same time, hey, Judge, do you think this whole Amburana thing, is this just a fad? And I was like, it was actually kind of funny. Like, they truly both asked the exact same question at the exact same time, right? So I have some really good relationships with different managers and owners, and they're both obviously often quite in the store at the same time. And this topic came up, and we were talking about it, and they were like, do you think it's just a fad? So I was like, you know what? That needs to be its own episode. So, when you think about Amburana as a whole, and whether or not this is a fad, let's kind of go back a little bit and give let's call it some history on Amburana. So, I reviewed many different Amburana, like base bourbons or ryes on the channel in the past. The Four Gate, I reviewed Starlight Amburana, and some others, the Lucky 7 Amburana, and I actually do enjoy Amburana. I really do enjoy it. But the question is I've heard from a lot of people whether or not if this is truly a fad. So let's give a little bit of history. So Amburana obviously is the Brazilian oak, right? I think it was a couple years ago, about maybe 2-3 years ago, the whole thing popped up pretty big with the whole use of Brazilian oak. Everyone in the whiskey business was finishing whiskey in different wine finishes, no matter if it's like a sherry or a cognac or a merlot or some other type of a traditional wine, if you will. And then there was the Amburana finish. So when you think about the Amburana finish, obviously, of course, it's Brazilian oak. And you think about the OG, if you will, right? So the original whiskey or brand that finished our whiskey in a Amburana oak barrel, in my opinion, that everyone really knew about was Starlight, right? So Starlight was the OG of the Amburana finish, and they truly were the OG. I mean, was there anyone else out there that may have did it before them? Sure, obviously, but were they the first main big time distillery to actually do it to a level where most people knew, learned about Amburana? That all came from Starlight. They were the OG. And I had it. I know a lot of my patrons, my friends have it as well. My buddy Blake, I call him AKA Mrs. Starlight. He loves himself some Starlight cigar batch. And after they came out with it, then everyone else started to come out with it. You have Lucky 7, which is the one I just poured. You have Barrel, ASW, Four Gate. The list goes on and on and on. But the story goes back to the conversation I had in the liquor store. Judge, is this just a fad? So the owner and manager were saying hey, all these Amburana finishes, Judge, they're just sitting on the shelves. Do you think I'm going to be able to move some of this product? And honestly, I don't know. So that's a question I have for everyone out there. Do we all believe that the Amburana finish is just a fad? I want to be crystal clear. The Judge, I am 100% for finished whiskeys, bourbons or ryes. I'm a fan of finished whiskeys as a whole. I really am. But Amburana is a unique finishing that I think is either a love or a hate. There's not a lot of the in between. It's either love or hate. It truly is. So the question remains, is Amburana truly a fad? We shall see. We truly shall see. The cool thing about this is that the fact that this topic came up not only with the liquor store owner who I was talking to as well as the manager, but I've actually had this conversation on numerous occasions with different patrons, with a few subscribers, some of the guys locally, in the Delaware, Maryland area that I hang out with, some of my whiskey friends, locally, and even some of my co-workers who are big whiskey guys and ladies as well, big whiskey fans as well. So this topic has come up on numerous occasions. So when it came up in the most recent conversation, I just started to laugh because I'm thinking back in my head to all the other conversations I had. And I was like, you know what? This needs to be his own episode. So, all right, let's go ahead. I'm going to get into a little bit here, some whiskey. This is coming from Lucky 7. This is their New Yorker. So this is their obviously Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, finished in Amburana cask, coming in at 117.2 proof. So I reviewed this on the channel. I enjoyed it. I really do enjoy Amburana. Amburana has that very deep I mean, it purely is. It's a cinnamon stick. It's a deep cinnamon note, cinnamon, chocolate, leather, and oak. That is truly Amburana for the most part. So let me go ahead and get a little sip. While I get a sip, I have 3 quick easy favors. Number 1, hit the like button. Number 2, drop me a comment. Let me know, what are your thoughts? Is the Amburana finish a fad? Is it like here just for a little bit and it's gonna be gone in the next like 12 months? Or is it here to stay? Let me know. Please also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you get notification each and every time I release new content. Cool? Cool. Cheers. Woo! That sweetness, really good. So I will say, for me personally, honestly, when I sip Amburana finished bourbons or ryes, odds are it's typically with a cigar. I actually do like Amburana finishes with a cigar. Not so much like neat by itself. Is it okay by itself neat? Of course. But for me personally, I personally prefer an Amburana finished bourbon or rye with a cigar. That's just me personally, but everyone else out there is different, of course. The next thing I will say is that there's a couple of things to kind of consider when you think about Amburana finished whiskeys. So Starlight, when they kind of created this whole concept, if you will, they were truly dumping their bourbon whiskey into a second full barrel that was made out of Amburana wood. That's how Starlight kind of created this whole fad, if you will. And shout out to Starlight, by the way, for doing that. I love that. I love their whiskey by itself. But then every other company, they got a little different. Some companies end up, number 1, using like staves. So they wouldn't use like a whole barrel. They would just insert Amburana staves into like the original barrel to kind of give its flavor as well. Other companies took the approach of, well, we're going to dump it into the Amburana barrel, but we're not going to leave it in there for as long as Starlight did. We might only leave it in there for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So they kind of shortened the time frame how long the whiskey, the original whiskey, stayed in the Amburana cask. So there's a couple different ways of, when you think about like the whole Amburana finishing, a couple different ways of really changing the effect of how much, honestly, how much Amburana, like the cinnamon notes, the chocolate notes, are you going to get in the end product. Certain people do it different ways, and depending on how much Amburana impact it is into the whiskey will also probably depend on how much you end up enjoying the final product. So that's another key thing as well. For me personally, when you ask me, Judge, is this truly a fad? Is this a whiskey finished product that I'm going to enjoy for years and years and years and years? For me, I don't know. I personally don't think so. I really don't think so, honestly. There's something about it that I have to agree with the store owner who I was talking to, as well as the manager. I personally don't believe that this finish is going to be around for a long time to come. Maybe the next 12 to 24 months. But after that, I can't see it sitting on shelves. A lot more people love a wine finished bourbon or a wine finished rye than an Amburana. So will this be around for many years to come? The judge says no, but hey, I'm just the judge of this courtroom, not the judge of the whiskey industry as a whole. We shall see. Hey friends, until the next time, peace, cheers, most important, salute. Take care everyone. See you guys.